On the dark night of August 13th, 2003, oil rig workers in the freezing open sea are finally preparing to return home after 10 years, all excited and dreaming of their families, unaware that the worst night of their lives is just beginning. Suddenly, strange events start across the platform, and a thick fog engulfs the entire rig. This is no ordinary fog, because anything it touches becomes infected and dies in unbearable pain. Communication systems collapse, cutting them off completely from the outside world and leaving them trapped alone in the ocean. Set in the dangerous waters off Scotland at the Kinloch Bravo platform, their long-awaited departure is suddenly delayed by their boss, Mag, due to an emergency at a northern platform, forcing helicopters to evacuate those workers first. Senior crew member Hatton argues with Mag over the endless wait as electrical failures and alarms begin spreading across the rig. Backup power is activated while worker Alvin discovers the nearby C-Zone platform engulfed in flames, followed by violent shaking of the structure and a total communication blackout. A high-pressure drilling alarm forces an emergency shutdown, stopping operations and bringing the fire under control, while the manager Ross protests over the financial loss. But Mag insists that lives come first. What initially seems like a minor accident quickly turns into a deadly mystery threatening everyone's survival. That was only the beginning. Moments later, the platform shakes again and everyone grabs the railings in fear until it stops. Mag realizes it's serious and tries contacting the mainland, but there is no signal. Then he sees a thick fog racing across the ocean, quickly swallowing the sea and moving toward them. Maintenance leader Fulmer and Deputy Baz go out to investigate. Halfway up, Baz hears a strange sound and calls Fulmer, but gets no answer in the dense fog. He slips while climbing, realizing it was just seagulls, and Fulmer joins him. They find nothing wrong on the tower, yet communication is still down. Baz drops equipment. Fulmer ignores it, but Baz notices a half-dead seagull. Roscoe reports a similar crisis across all regional platforms. Suddenly, Baz falls. Fulmer blames himself. Baz is saved but critically injured and needs helicopter evacuation, impossible in the fog. Tensions rise as Hatton blames Mag. Baz briefly wakes with disturbing visions, and Hatton storms Mag's office, finding a secret document revealing Kinloch Bravo and all platforms are being abandoned, with crews considered unnecessary while shutdown plans are unprepared, leaving everyone stunned and realizing the danger is far worse than a simple accident. Mag, crying, says his only goal now is to get everyone home safely. But the moment he finishes speaking, ash-like rain begins falling from the sky, shocking everyone. Baz, who was earlier in critical condition, suddenly appears standing behind them, as if he already knows everything. But there's no time to think because saving his life is the priority. The question now is whether they can survive this nightmare, trapped between two threats, the unknown deadly disaster, and their collapsing trust in each other. Thick fog engulfs the entire Scottish sea zone. When Baz is taken to the medical room, he says he remembers nothing, only a strange voice in his head and something he saw on the signal tower, which terrifies the nurse. Ross reassures everyone the platform is stronger than any recorded waves, but reality is darker. Baz unwraps his bandage and sees his wound bleeding, yet the blood itself seems alive and moving. Fear spreads as workers worry about losing their jobs, while Alvin and others detect strange lights, signals from a reserve ship. Soon, disturbing changes happen to Baz. His injuries heal unnaturally, and in the mirror he sees horrifying visions. Elsewhere, a crew member dies violently as black liquid spreads across the body. Heather finds a dead colleague. Ross begins analyzing ash samples and Baz disappears, acting strangely despite impossible recovery. What they are facing is no longer an accident, it's something far more unnatural and deadly. Meanwhile, Fulmer and Alvin search outside for Baz. Fulmer cuts his hand on a door but barely reacts, while Alvin feels an intense, sinking fear, and he is right. Hatton secretly jams the inward door, planning to delay everyone so an SOS signal can be sent out. When Fulmer and Alvin discover this, chaos escalates. As the reserve ship picks up the signal, it races straight toward the drilling platform. They try to open the blocked door to stop it, but it won't budge. Fulmer notices the ash has stopped falling, something that feels wrong, not reassuring. Alvin tells Fulmer to stay and keep calling for help, while he looks for another way, but soon Mag arrives and shuts Hatton down. Still, a bigger problem emerges. In this dense fog, if the ship collides with the platform, it will be catastrophic. Out of options, they can only hope. Outside, Alvin sees Baz again, but Baz refuses to come in, insisting he must stay. When Alvin tries to force him, Baz suddenly overpowers him and throws him into the railing. Alvin begins choking, coughing seawater, and collapses. The massive ship nearly crashes but shifts direction at the last second, though Alvin is already dying. Mag tries desperately to save him, but it's too late, and 2 deaths in one day break him completely. Meanwhile, Ross discovers the truth. Ash particles react like living organisms, meaning infection spreads through prolonged exposure, inhalation, or open wounds, and Fulmer's injury now puts him at risk. A new test begins, but Baz has already vanished again, and the situation spirals further into terror. Fulmer unknowingly helps Baz without realizing it. Meanwhile, Baz reaches a large pillar and dumps a sample of his blood into the sea. When Mag finds out, he angrily asks Fulmer why he didn't report it sooner, and Fulmer says he simply didn't have time. Mag decides that if they can't test everyone, then the most likely infected must be isolated. The decision is made, but things are already slipping out of control. Mag calls an emergency meeting to locate Baz and secure the platform. The fog has cleared and the ash has stopped falling, so cleanup begins to reduce infection risk. Another priority is finding Baz, whether he wants to return or not. A full disinfection system is activated as the crew spreads out, but Baz is hiding inside an oil tank, speaking to the oil itself, as strange green patches spread wherever he touches. Ross makes a chilling discovery. The fossil found during the first drilling matches the spores in the ash, dating back 300 million years to the Permian period, when 90% of marine life died, and the oil field is tied to those ancient rocks. Suddenly, crew member Garo enters the tank, sees the organic green mass, and is attacked by Baz. Garo warns others before coughing black blood. Then the rig shakes violently again as a massive underground hole forms. The flare system fails, releasing explosive gas, and the only option is a manual ignition. Fulmer steps up, but as he tests the range, he realizes the distance is still not enough, leaving them one mistake away from total destruction. Fulmer suddenly removes his safety restraints, and the sight shocks everyone on the platform, especially Hatton. It becomes clear his decision is final. No one can stop him. He moves forward, knowing that starting the flare might be their only chance. In that moment, he ignites it, and the flare erupts. Mag rushes in and puts out the fire on Fulmer's back. The question hangs in the air. Will Fulmer survive? The answer is yes, because he is not an ordinary man. He is something chosen. But everyone now understands this was never just a technical failure or accident. Whatever happened is tied to something ancient, something deep beneath the ocean, older than humanity itself. Baz's story finally becomes clear. He wasn't a villain, but the first human fully taken over by an ancient parasitic organism. His body healed rapidly, wounds closing, but his humanity was being erased. Others like Leek died immediately because their bodies couldn't survive the infection, proving the parasite rejects weak hosts and seeks strong ones. Ash, fog, and green growths are all signs of a prehistoric life form from the Permian era, now reawakened by human drilling. Mag is devastated realizing the company knew everything but continued drilling anyway for profit. Baz's condition proves unnatural regeneration, and Ross concludes this may be a surviving ancient organism with Baz acting as its host or guardian. Suddenly alarms sound. Pressure in the underwater pipeline is rising dangerously. Baz activates the sprinkler system, pushing the platform toward collapse. The crew realizes stopping him may be the only way to survive, but in reality, Baz was silently trying to save everyone. He could feel it. The underwater valve had to be closed or total disaster was coming. Just when they thought the danger was over, a new problem hit. No one even knew how to operate the system. Then Baz remembered someone. Meanwhile, Fulmer stood deep in thought, staring at the strange circular patterns in the ocean floor when his phone suddenly rang. East checked it in shock. There was a signal again. Not just phones, even radios came back online. For a moment, hope of going home came alive. Mag immediately contacted the Coast Guard. Kate video called Cassie, saying she was safe, but Cassie admitted she had been calling the company non-stop after losing contact, only to be told everything was fine. Kate found that suspicious and told her to contact rescue teams directly, but then Cassie's power flickered again, just like before. When she opened the window, she saw the same terrifying sight, and the call dropped. Panic rose. Was this the end? Meanwhile, Baz tried reaching Fulmer through the plants. Fulmer, confused, realized his body was healing unnaturally fast. East walked in, and just then Baz's voice echoed again. "We need you." Fulmer rushed to the bathroom and saw his burns almost gone. Ross gathered everyone, saying Coast Guard had not confirmed rescue. Trust collapsed, accusations spread, and tensions exploded. Kate revealed she was pregnant, shocking everyone. Mag broke down, admitting he lost a child before. Kate saw Fulmer walking alone toward the production module and followed too late. Then a lifeboat appeared, but nothing was what it seemed. The next night, another lifeboat drifts in. Everyone thinks help has finally arrived, but instead, a ruthless and calculating man steps out, David Coco. For safety, Ross suggests running blood tests on everyone first, but Coco refuses outright. He flashes an ID, claiming he was sent from head office and needs immediate access to the control room. East recognizes him, revealing a personal connection that raises quiet suspicion. In the control room, Ross questions Coco about what happened at Season and how he got there, but he avoids answers, claiming he was on a secret project. He instead questions why the sprinkler system was shut down. Dunwin explains it had to be done, or they all would have died after a subsea blowout. Ross feels uneasy, sensing something off. Mark tells her to stay cautious and observe him, unaware of how dangerous Coco truly is. During dinner, Hatton, Dunwin, and the chef talk about finding a way home, seemingly reaching a decision. Meanwhile, Coco sneaks into Mark's office but is interrupted. They exchange formal greetings, but when asked about Season's leader, Derek, Coco hesitates, clearly hiding something. Elsewhere, Ross studies Fulmer's strange circular patterns and realizes they resemble layers of life cycles, like tree rings. Kate suggests they mark time or extinction events. Suddenly, it clicks for Ross. These rings represent major mass extinctions across Earth's history. Coco arrives and coldly pushes a violent solution: destroy Baz and the infected in the production module. Mark refuses, and Coco quietly leaves. But outside, Hatton and Dunwin fall under his influence, agreeing to follow him toward a dangerous plan involving gas-filled containers. At that moment, Coco storms into the control room, orders everyone out, and activates the platform's full fire system. As gas spreads through the structure, Baz and Fulmer begin to feel the strange presence in the air weakening. Just as they try to escape, Garo suddenly appears, confused by what he sees. Hatton tells him to move, but Garo violently coughs up black blood. Dunwin realizes the truth. They were never meant to be knocked out. They were meant to be killed. It's too late. Garo is already dead. Hatton and Morchi make it out, but Dunwin is locked inside and suffocates as oxygen runs out. Outside, Fulmer sees Garo's body as the green plants begin to die. When he tries to shut the system down, he collapses from the poison. Baz is in the same condition. At that exact moment, the final ring beneath the ocean closes, meaning the disaster has begun. Coco has tricked the crew into releasing toxic gas, sealing deaths inside the platform. Mark shuts down the system and Ross enters in a safety suit, trying to save Fulmer, but he is unconscious and she collapses too, defeated. Then something impossible happens. The dead green plants come back to life, energy returns, and Fulmer's eye moves. He wakes, and the plants grow even faster, proving neither he nor his guardian can be destroyed. Baz also regains consciousness, but Garo does not. He wasn't chosen. Fulmer is rescued, and Mark vows revenge. A flashback reveals Coco knew about pressure, danger, but ignored warnings, triggering everything intentionally. He believed destroying the anomaly would save the platform, but instead caused mass death. Back in the present, Coco admits the company knew of an ancient ocean entity called the Proto-Being and tried to eliminate it. Ross concludes it cannot be killed, only understood. Fulmer senses the entity clearly now, and Mark believes Baz holds the key as its protector. They all head out to find Baz. Meanwhile, Coco makes another ruthless move. He threatens Harris, forcing him to comply if he wants to leave alive. Coco claims a rescue helicopter is on the way, but before that, one final job remains. Another explosion to destroy the proto-being. In the production module, Baz stands silently as the others beg him to come with them and protect it together. But Baz is crying. He says the proto-being has cut contact with him. He thought he was helping, but he failed. Harris secretly fakes activating the system while actually turning on the broadcast, and Coco explodes in rage. The crew rushes toward the control room as the entity's anger triggers another massive seismic shock. The platform shakes violently, walls tremble, and chaos erupts. The fourth shock hits and everything begins collapsing. They receive word that a rescue helicopter is arriving, and everyone must head to the helipad. Coco runs first, smiling as he sees the helicopter, but Hatton follows, furious over Dunwin's death. He resists killing Coco, choosing justice instead, and slaps him. Elsewhere, Ross and the others realize it's not just a wave, but a tsunami, and even worse, it has already destroyed the Season platform. Just before impact, the helicopter takes off, and seconds later, the massive wave slams into the rig. A matter of seconds decided their survival. The question remains, did Baz survive? Maybe not, but as the chosen guardian of the proto-being, he stepped into the glowing circle and may have been pulled into another world or a parallel reality instead of dying. The survivors escape, but the danger isn't over. Coco then hints at something even darker, but doesn't explain it, leaving answers for another season. Moments later, Cassie feels violent tremors, walks to the door, and freezes as she sees the same massive wave outside. And that's where Season 1 ends. However, as the helicopter disappears into the sky and the tsunami engulfs the platform, the full truth finally settles in. This was never just an industrial accident, but the awakening of an ancient, intelligent force beneath the ocean, triggered by human greed and drilling too far into something never meant to be disturbed. If you agree or disagree with this ending, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep, cinematic breakdowns like this.